By the way, this has taken the world by storm. Australia, America, they cannot get enough of this story. The Americans love a conspiracy theory, and as an elective kingship themselves, they love a bit of royal gossip. So this is about Britain's image projected on the stage, cast through the prism of monarchy. We expect our royal family to be above the grubby politicians. And the Queen did that quite brilliantly. I mean, she had her dips, she had her bad moments. But on the whole, there was this idea that something was above politics, that they had to bend their knee to her. And the problem is when the one of the leading palaces, Kensington Palace, the bright, brave new face of monarchy, which is what Kate and William are, put something out there that cannot be trusted, then arguably they're playing at no better a level than the politicians. And already, because they're part of the culture wars now, courtesy of the whole kind of divide between Harry and William, exacerbated by the way the press narrate those two narratives, this means that they no longer pull us above our political differences. And if the royal family don't serve as this impartial place or patriotic space above politics, then please tell me, what is their main function?
The clip you've just seen of historian Tessa Dunlop may be short, but it cuts right to the core of the monarchy's modern crisis. When she asks, if the royal family don't serve as this impartial place or patriotic space above politics, then please tell me what is their main function. She's not just making a passing remark, she's exposing the uncomfortable truth about what the monarchy has become in the 21st century. For centuries, the royals have been able to justify their existence by presenting themselves as neutral figureheads who unite the country, who stand above the fray of political mudslinging, who embody continuity and tradition in times of chaos. But Dunlop is calling out how far Kensington Palace has drifted from that supposed neutrality. By aligning themselves with political games, press manipulation, and PR battles that resemble party politics, the royals have in effect undermined the very reason they claim to exist. And if they can't be impartial, if they can't embody a national identity outside of partisan squabbles, then the nation has every right to ask what purpose they truly serve beyond maintaining their own privilege. Let's break down why her words matter. Britain is not a republic, it's a constitutional monarchy. That means the royal family exists in a peculiar position, supposedly above the political system yet deeply entrenched in it. They are unelected yet enjoy taxpayer funding. They are meant to be symbols of unity, yet their actions often divide opinion more than any political figure. Tessa Dunlop is highlighting this contradiction when she points to Kensington Palace and says it is, playing at no better a level than the politicians. Because when the monarchy begins to engage in spin, media manipulation, and backroom politics, it loses the one thing that makes it unique. It begins to look not like an impartial crown, but like just another power player jockeying for influence. And let's be honest, the royal household has done exactly that. Whether through leaking stories to the press, using briefings to undermine rivals within the family, or cultivating political relationships in ways that are anything but neutral. That's not impartiality. That's politics by another name. And what happens when the monarchy behaves like politicians? The public begins to see them as no better than politicians. But unlike politicians, they can't be voted out. They can't be held to account at the ballot box. They remain cushioned by the institution of monarchy, drawing millions from the public purse while dodging the kind of scrutiny that elected officials face. This is precisely why Dunlop's point strikes such a chord. If the royals refuse to be above politics, then they are failing in their main function. They are not offering continuity, they are not unifying the nation, and they are not rising above the political noise. They are simply playing the game for their own survival. That's not duty, it's self-preservation masquerading as service. Now, some defenders of the monarchy will argue that the royals can't help but be political. They'll say that every ribbon they cut, every charity they endorse, every international visit they embark upon carries political undertones. And to an extent, that's true, but there's a difference between incidental political implications and actively engaging in political maneuvering. There's a difference between being a symbolic head of state who meets world leaders out of constitutional obligation and being an institution that, well, leaks damaging stories about family members to the press just to shore up its own image. The former is part of the role. The latter, honestly, is the behavior of politicians desperate for headlines. When Kensington Palace stoops to that level, they're not playing the role of monarchs. They're playing the role of spin doctors. And that's exactly what Tessa Dunlop is pointing out. Let's not forget the historical backdrop here. The monarchy has always justified itself as being a unifying, apolitical presence. That's why Queen Elizabeth II was so revered for her discipline in never straying into political territory publicly. She understood that her strength lay in silence, in being a blank canvas upon which the public could project unity and stability. But her heirs, particularly those in Kensington Palace, have struggled to live up to that standard. The palace's endless PR wars, its obsession with controlling the narrative, and its willingness to engage in tabloid politics has, honestly, shattered that illusion of neutrality. When the royals behave like politicians, but without the accountability of politicians, they expose the institution as hollow. Dunlop's question, what is their main function, becomes not just rhetorical, but, damning. And this is where the debate gets really interesting, because if the monarchy is failing in its most important role, then people will naturally begin to question whether it should exist at all. If the royals are no more neutral than a political party, then honestly, why should taxpayers fund them? If their main function is no longer unifying the country, but rather preserving their own image through media manipulation, then what separates them from any other celebrity family clinging to fame? The monarchy risks becoming nothing more than a taxpayer-funded reality show. That's not stability, that's spectacle. And Britain doesn't need spectacle, it needs institutions that function. Tessa Dunlop's critique also shines a light on something the royal family would rather keep hidden: their reliance on secrecy and spin. The royals are constantly engaging in political behavior behind the scenes, lobbying government ministers on legislation that affects their wealth, using obscure legal privileges like the Queen's consent or a prince's consent to shape bills, and intervening in matters of land and inheritance that protect their vast estates. These are profoundly political acts, even though the public is told the monarchy is apolitical. Dunlop's words are a reminder that the royals can't have it both ways. They can't act politically in private and then pretend to be neutral in public. If they insist on stepping into the political arena, then they must also accept political scrutiny. And that is something the monarchy has fought desperately to avoid. There's also the issue of credibility. Every time Kensington Palace tries to manipulate the press, every time they engage in political games, they undermine their own credibility as an institution. Because the monarchy's power doesn't come from law or military force, it comes from perception. So it's a soft power, really, built on the belief that they're somehow above it all, that they represent something eternal and impartial. Once that perception is gone, well, their legitimacy is gone too. And honestly, we're already seeing cracks in that perception. Younger generations in Britain are a lot less supportive of the monarchy than older generations. The idea that the royals are a neutral source of national pride just doesn't resonate anymore, especially when, their actions suggest otherwise. Dunlop is basically warning the monarchy here. Keep playing politics, and you'll lose the very thing that makes you relevant. This conversation, it also forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality of the monarchy's role in a democratic society. In a democracy, political neutrality from unelected figures isn't really optional, it's essential. If unelected royals start behaving like elected officials, but without the checks and balances of democracy, then honestly, democracy itself is weakened. That's why, Tessa Dunlop's criticism carries such weight. It's not just about one palace briefing or one instance of media manipulation. It's about the entire system of monarchy losing its justification in a modern democratic nation. If the royals want to behave like politicians, then they should run for office and face elections like everyone else. If they want to remain monarchs, then they need to stay above politics and truly embody that impartiality they've long promised. They can't have it both ways. Ultimately, Tessa Dunlop has done what so many historians, journalists, and commentators are often just too afraid to do. She's said the quiet part out loud. The monarchy's main function has always been to provide a symbolic unity above politics. If they abandon that, well, they abandon their function. And once the function is gone, all that's really left is the facade of wealth, privilege, and spectacle.